Mercury will be in retrograde from July 18th through August 11th. Now, this retrograde this time around, okay, is not going to feel as harsh as the last retrograde in Pisces. However, we are in heavy retrograde energy, so I'm sure, we all probably will get some energy confused with Mercury. The retrograde that is going to kick us in the butt will actually be Saturn retrograde, which is also happening right now as Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, hooray, hooray. However, Mercury itself is not going to be so harsh. Okay, Mercury is not going to talk to many other planets while in retrograde, so we are fortunate enough to have at least that. Okay, there are two aspects that happen while Mercury directly to Mercury while Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, there's a conjunction with the sun. All right. And then at the beginning of the retrograde, there is sextile energy to Venus. Okay. So it's not, it's not any terrible aspects or things that, not square energy, right? There's no square energy to this retrograde. It's just sextile, which is opportunities that will present themselves. That's not good or bad. It's just opportunities, period. And then a conjunction is working together with the sun. The sun is coming in, and shining a light on Mercury, and we got to figure out what that is. Okay, so there's really only two aspects that we really need to worry about in Mercury retrograde. Hooray! Now, Mercury retrograde is going to bring opportunities, right? Because every retrograde has its purpose, okay? So this retrograde, Mercury being in Leo, is going to bring opportunities to kind of refine your creative activities or the things that you do, the things that you take pride in, how you think about things. This could be how you perceive things, like how your mind can be a bit dramatic, or how your mind can be creative, how you can refine that energy. Okay, it can be around how you've shown up to communication or how your logic is processed, based in ego and pride. Opportunities to kind of reflect, restructure, or repair energy as it relates to how you communicate, and the pride that you communicate in, the ego that you communicate in. Okay, this will bring opportunities for us to reflect on, repair, restructure, energy around us showing up as if we know everything, right? We have all the answers. We just know, because Leo energy, my pride, my ego, I just know. I'm wrong, though. You're wrong. What are you talking about? You're wrong. I'm right. It's opportunities for you to kind of take a step back and change your perspective. Okay, so this is the energy of Mercury retrograde in Leo. Okay, those Leo attributes, which is pride, ego, charisma, creativity, drama. All right, and how your mind is processing based on those attributes, right? That is what's coming back to us in retrograde. So let's jump right into the signs. Again, I'm going to do my whole spiel. This will be most accurate if you look at this based on your rising sign, okay? Because this will encompass where this energy will show up in your life, okay? But if you want to look at this from your sun or your moon sign, your sun sign would be in relation to your perspective, your focus, your attitude, your ego, and your pride, okay? And if you're looking at this from a moon perspective, this will be reflective in like your home, your internal security, your instincts, and your intuition and your emotions. Okay, so that's how you will process it. But your rising sign, right, is most accurate to understand where or what will be popping up. Okay, so let's jump right into it. All right, Taurus. So retrograde for Taurus is not going to be so terrible. Okay. It's not going to be too terrible for any of the signs because the terrible retrograde is actually happening with Saturn. Okay. At the same time. So Mercury is giving us a little break this time around during retrograde. Okay. So Mercury is going to be in retrograde in your fourth house of Leo. Okay. So this is your fourth house of home. And this is kind of how you operate within your pride, your ego, your charisma as it relates to your internal security, your home. Okay, this is like your family, your mother, your roots, you know, generational inheritance or generational gifts, right? Your upbringing. This is like the house of inner child, right? So really, Mercury retrograde for Taurus is going to be taking a deep look at how your inner child operates, how you interact with your inner child, right? How your inner child helps you kind of bubble up in your ego and your pride, or how your inner child assists you in creativity, or how it is that you express yourself or gives you courage, right? So there's heavy emphasis on this Mercury retrograde in your fourth house, which is, I call it the house of inner child. Really? Okay, this is how we were developed. Okay. It's going to have heavy emphasis on your inner child and how it is that you react to that child, or how it is that child helps you in a positive way in life. Okay. Mercury will be sextile to Venus in the second house. Okay. So Venus rules Taurus, which rules the second house. So Venus is going to be in a portion of her home because Venus rules over two signs. Okay. So Venus is going to be in a portion of her home. And then this is the material realm. Okay. This is resources, right? This is the house of resource. So this is your inner child, right? And in Leo, right? Retrograde brings back opportunities for us to reflect, restructure, repair, right? So there are things here that have already happened in your life, right? Energy that maybe you could be a little bit more aligned in coming back to you to help you better understand how you interact with your inner child, or how you interact with your internal security, how you interact with home. Okay. So there's an emphasis here on there being opportunities around your material resources or resources in general. Like this could be in relation to your self-worth. You may find something that bubbles up that kind of changes your perspective on your self-worth and how that ties into how you react, right, as it relates to your inner child, right? This could be related to your possessions or your money and how that can possibly trigger your inner child. And this is not a good nor bad thing, right? But this is just the interaction. Mercury and Venus are going to be having a conversation with one another as it relates to your inner child and the value that your inner child may hold, or the value that you need to readjust or reconsider the value that you place on things. Okay. So on the 18th, as Mercury hits retrograde, right, there is a direct sextile to Venus in that second house. All right. So when we have these aspects, right, it's a conversation between the two planets. So with this sextile energy, again, this is not a good or bad energy. Okay, it's not good, nor is it bad. It's just opportunities. All right. So for example, right, let's say in the past, because this is Venus, you have dated, right? And you tend to date people that only have like a lot of money, just a lot of money, a lot of money, a lot of money, a lot of money. However, maybe there is some other person here. This could be someone who is linked to your inner child, someone maybe you grew up with, or, you know, someone that you have a past with. Okay. And let's say back in the day, they tried to holler at you and you were like, absolutely not, brokey. You ain't got no money. I love you, but you do not qualify to ride this ride because You don't have no money. No, thank you. Right? Pride and ego. You don't have the money for me. And this is directly linked to your upbringing, right? Maybe you were raised without, right? Maybe you don't ever want to go back to that life, right? So this is how your inner child is interacting with people because, baby, I'm not about to go back to struggle. No, thank you. Right? And some time has passed. Okay. Time has passed. And this person reappears in Mercury retrograde because, you know, retrogrades love to pull energy and people from the past. But all of a sudden, this person now has got it together. Dang. They got it together. And now you looking like, okay, you not so brokey. What's up? And they like, skirt, get out of my face. Because you tried to play with me, right? And call me brokey. I love you, right? But you can't do that. Right? You got to understand life is life. You know, sometimes we got to build and you prejudging, right? It's like a whole situation that kind of changes your perspective on how it is you are choosing to go about relationships or how it is you are using, you know, financial resources as a way of navigating through your relationships. It could be anything really, but that's just a scenario of what I'm talking about, okay? So that is a sextile situation. The person pops back up and you were not aligned because actually you guys were supposed to be in line, but back then that inner child was a little scarred, right? And you was like, absolutely not. And now that person bubbles back up and now you have a learning opportunity. Will you take it? I don't know. I hope you do though, okay? So then next, the energy that we have that comes after that will be July 31st, and there will be a conjunction with the sun. Now, this is the second conjunction, okay? The sun had a conjunction with Mercury at the end of May, okay? I think it was like May 30th or something like that, right? So Mercury and the sun passed by each other in Gemini, your second house, where Venus is sitting right now. You clock that, T? Yeah. Where Venus is sitting right now, okay, that is where the sun and Mercury first had their conversation this year. Hey, what's up? In Gemini, the mind, the thought process. Mercury in Gemini, okay? Gemini is, your second house is in the realm of Gemini because Venus is in Gemini, okay? So your second house, right? How you think about your finances, how you think about material resources or resources in general and your mindset around that, right? That's a part of your life lesson, right? Our birth chart, it gives us a map of what it is that we're supposed to be learning here on earth, okay? So your second house, your house of value, is in the realm of Gemini, but it's ruled by Venus, right? So there's an emphasis here on a deep connection between your perspective, right, of value versus how your perspective ties into what it is that you value. Okay, that in general in life period is for you, Taurus rising, is your perspective on material value. Okay, so with the sun and Mercury already having a conversation at the end of May in that first conjunction that they had, right now we got a second one. Right now Mercury is backtracking and the sun is moving forward. So Mercury is going backwards and the sun is going forward and they cross again. Right now the sun has crossed through Gemini, your second house, right? And it has crossed through Cancer in your third house, right? And now it meets Mercury in your fourth house of Leo, and they have another conversation. Now, Mercury is in a little funky little mood because Mercury is in retrograde, right? So Mercury takes that tea that the sun shines a light on and is like, all right, cool. Let's figure this out, right? That's what happens on the 31st. The sun to Mercury, right? They have a conversation and Mercury's like, all right, I'm a fix it. Yeah, don't worry about it. I got it. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna reel this energy back in. And likely it's something that happened, you know, at the later part of May, beginning part of June, right? That resurfaces. And Mercury is like, how about you take a look at this and maybe change your perspective? We was just talking in your second house. We had a conversation there, and the sun just came back and told me all this stuff. And now you got to work on this. Now look at this. You see what you've done here? And that could be good or bad, but do you see what you've done here? All right, so how do we make it better? How do we do that? That is what you're going to experience on the 31st, okay? Now, this is in the realm of Leo, and this is your 4th house, and this is your inner child. So that's still that same energy around how it is your inner child impacts how it is that you move, how it is you express yourself, how it impacts your creativity, how it impacts like your arrogance and your pride and your ego, right? There are opportunities for you to discover within this. Now, fortunately, that's all that we got. After that sextile with Venus in the 2nd house and the conjunction with the sun, the second conversation that they have this year, we done. We got a whole bunch of other stuff that we need to concentrate on because Saturn's in retrograde, all right, and that is already doing wonders. Okay, it's already doing wonders. Okay, so that's all we have for Mercury retrograde, Taurus rising. Now, when I get to Saturn retrograde, I'm gonna have a mouthful for what's happening there because there's a lot. So Mercury retrograde is just gonna be like a little blip in a sea of chaos. Okay, I hope this reaches you well.